Alright everyone, welcome to Apocalypse Movies and our brand new segment / video that we're calling Things You May Have Missed. This time we're doing 10 things you may have missed in Star Wars The Last Jedi, with it being a gigantic blockbuster film and just a Star Wars in general. There's going to be a lot of things in this movie, specifically in The Last Jedi. There are things all over this place that we have missed, that we're looking for, and in the first viewing, there's no way you're going to find them.
Nope.
At all. So we're starting off, and we got a whole bunch of things to talk about as far as canon goes, little nods, excuse me, little nods to George Lucas, little nods to fans from the past, and we're starting off right away with one of the biggest canon discussions, legend discussions of all time. Revan was possibly teased in this movie, and the panning shot of Luke's home, going over his food source, the things he has in his little hut, his little town that he has going on. There's a necklace hanging, and inside the necklace there's what's called a Crusader pendant, and inside the Crusader pendant looks to be a Kyber Crystal. It's a red Kyber Crystal, and that is confirmed in Pablo Hidalgo's visual dictionary, which we do not have our hands on yet, unfortunately. But the key word here is Crusader, and Crusader refers to none other than Darth Revan. And that is a big deal for expanded universe fans because Revan is one of the most popular, if not the most popular characters of all time. And the fact that he was teased in Last Jedi, whether that means for future movies or past movies, anything, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, there's only one time it's ever been used, the word Crusader, and that's in reference to Revan. So it's kind of a big deal.
And I think that in the visual dictionary, or possibly just in canon expanded universe, or expanded universe, I should say, it's the Crusaderites or something like that. They're followers of Revan, basically. And so that's where the Crusader comes into play. And I mean, Revan's one of my all-time favorite characters, so this is just incredible.
Bring it.
All right, sticking with the panning shot of Luke's home area, right after we see Revan's possible Kyber Crystal, there is a shot of what looks to be a modern-day compass sitting on one of the shelves. It turns out to be the actual star map compass that was shown in Battlefront 2. Now, of course, this hasn't been canonized yet as far as what this does, but it's expected and speculated and theorized that this compass shows possible and all of Jedi temples around the universe, leading Luke Skywalker to Octo. Now, in Battlefront 2, the gameplay, we find out that Luke ventures to the planet Pilio, where he meets one of the Inferno Squadron characters, Del, who later on becomes one of the major characters going forward in that gameplay. And they're going to one of Emperor Palpatine's hidden bases, basically a giant exploratory museum of stuff he's just collecting. And Luke asks Del for him to take just that one thing, because Del is there to blow everything up, basically. And so it's shown in that game. It now ventures into The Last Jedi. It's in two shots. First, after we see the Kyber Crystal. Second shot is when Chewie knocks down the door to inside Luke's hut. It's sitting next to him, so it bears a certain importance to him. We don't know if it'll play any role going forward, but the fact that we kind of know now how Luke came onto the grounds of Octo is a really cool tidbit.
Yeah, it's nice to see that even the video games are canon. Anything they do, it plays importance. And, we thought maybe it'd end up being a holocron of some point.
Which would have been really cool anyway.
Which would have been a cool nod, but, the fact that it's actually a map, supposedly, gives us a little insight of how he's finding these places like Octo and stuff like that.
Well, what would be interesting is if Rey took that with her, and we'll have a conversation later on about something else she took, but that would be interesting because maybe she ventures to other Jedi temples in the universe.
You never know.
All right, one of the big canon pieces of this film has to do with the hyperspace tracking that the First Order has come about in this movie, and we learn this from Rey, or not Rey, but Finn and Rose. That's what I meant to Rose. And it's first mentioned by Leia. Then Finn and Rose go on this adventure to kind of destroy the hyperspace tracking system on the First Order ship. Well, this isn't the first time we've heard of hyperspace tracking. It was actually first mentioned in Rogue One by Jyn Erso. So they are on the planet Scarif. They are looking for the Death Star plans. They're trying to figure out the name of the Death Star plans. And they come across hyperspace tracking navigational systems. She says it point blank at the time. We don't really care what that means because we're looking for the Death Star plans.
I didn't even notice it.
It now ventures into the Star Wars universe. They go back to something in the past. They use it very well in this movie. Just another nod to Gareth Edwards' film, And yeah, it's just a really cool nod to Rogue One, recognizing that film's there.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that these things are connected from episode 8 to all the way to Rogue One, which is a significant amount of time.
Yes.
So they've been working on that for a while now. But it plays a lot of importance, and it's nice to see other movies.
Well, and what's cool about this specific moment is that Gareth Edwards was actually in the movie, the director of Rogue One. Mm-hmm. He was in a scene of Crate as one of the Resistance fighters on ground. And Rian Johnson was also actually in Rogue One as one of the Death Star operators when the Death Star first fires. You can see him with the giant helmet on, inside next to the laser. So it's a kind of cool pull back and forth between Rian Johnson and Gareth Edwards. Yeah. All right, one of the more emotional moments for Star Wars fans, longtime Star Wars fans. You may not have noticed it the first time, may not have even noticed it the second time, but in the scene where Leia gets shot off the bridge in the Resistance cruiser by Kylo Ren's, tag team partners, wingmen in the story, Admiral Akbar, the Mon Calamari legend, the one who says it's a trap in Return of the Jedi, he bites the dust in this movie. It is looked over because of the significance of Leia being shot out in that scene. They go out together. This is actually a big moment for Star Wars fans because Admiral Akbar is one of the cooler characters because he has been used not just in the movies, but he was had a big part in storylines in the Clone Wars series. And just the fact that he's such a different character, he's a general in this Resistance army. He's now gone. He bites dust.
Yeah, it was kind of, I wouldn't say obvious that it was going to happen because that actor that voiced him did pass away. I did not expect him to go out like this.
No, not at all.
I figured they would just kind of like let him go and just eventually, address it maybe somewhere. But he actually flew on. They say we lost Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, I didn't recognize it after my first viewing. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because of Leia. I mean, you see Leia, you're like, did they really just kill Leia?
You're still in shock the fact that she's going to pull herself. But, it does suck. I mean, it's one of the characters that's most likable, most famous line.
It's a trap!
Yeah. So, I mean, another one bites the dust.
All right, our next thing that we're going to be talking about here is probably the one thing that you will miss so easily in this film because it ties back to A New Hope, the first time we ever saw it, but that's Han's dice. Now, when Luke first enters the Millennium Falcon, we see him holding Han's golden dice, the pair of dice that was hanging on the Millennium Falcon. Now, we first saw this in A New Hope when Luke, Obi-Wan, Chewie, and Han are on their way to Alderaan. It's actually hanging on the roof, and there will be a picture up right now where you can see that. But this has a significance for two big reasons. One, it's paying a nod to the original film that Star Wars, everything was started on, and just Han Solo. They're addressing Han Solo in this movie. But two, this could possibly play a big role in the Han Solo spinoff, so we'll see you next year.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of keeps in with what we said earlier. There's tie-ins to these spinoffs, and you're seeing that from the hyperspace tracking in Rogue One to now you're probably going to see this connect some way all the way back to the Han Solo movie. So, I mean, there's little things that are going to tie these movies in together.
And it's really cool. I hope that, we either find out how he got the dice or maybe it's like some kind of trick thing that he has up his sleeve or something. But I hope that the dice are addressed in that movie because, like Brian said, it would just be a cool nod to kind of everything kind of being together.
I mean, they could even be Lando's for all we know from when they got the dice.
Yeah, maybe they were on the Millennium Falcon when Han won the Millennium Falcon.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Nice little turn.
Yeah. All right, our next thing that you may have missed, nobody will really know what this means. Everyone's going to look over it like it's nothing, but that is the term Lazer Sword. Now, Luke says this to Rey when they're having a giant conversation. They're basically fighting, and he's like, oh, what do you want me to walk out in front of the First Order with a laser sword? Now, Lazer Sword may seem like an odd term because we recognize them as lightsabers. This is actually the term originated by George Lucas when he first came up with the idea of Star Wars. He actually still uses the term today, even though he came up with the word lightsaber. Lazer Sword is a big deal to George Lucas. It is a big deal to original Star Wars fans, the hardcore fanboys. It's just, again, a cool nod to not just George Lucas, but the original idea of Star Wars way back before it was even released in 1977.
Yeah, again, with the nice throwbacks, throwing back to the original trilogies, kind of giving it up to the creator of the movie, and nice little touch. Sticking
with homages to the originality of Star Wars, we have the classic line of "I have a bad feeling about this." Now, if you watch The Last Jedi, you're not going to recognize seeing the line anywhere in the movie because it's not actually said; it is beeped. Now, in the opening scene of The Last Jedi, when we see Poe taking on the massive dreadnought with BB-8, you hear little frantic beeps from BB-8, recognizing that he's just a little scared of what's going on. It's not really fright, it's more of, I have a bad feeling about this. Revealed by Rian Johnson right after the release of the movie, BB-8 is actually the character to say, I have a bad feeling about this. Another cool twist, which this movie was full of compared to the Star Wars universe. And, you know, going in, watching a second, third, or fourth time, look at that scene and you'll recognize the different beeps are in for BB-8 compared to his normal beeps. And it's even, it's confirmed by Poe's response to BB-8. So I kind of put those together in the movie. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those synonymous things that they say in Star Wars that people look for. I look for it. I mean,
it's said by every major character. It's said by Luke, Leia, Han in the originals, then Obi-Wan twice, and Anakin in the prequels. So
yeah, so it's something that's definitely noticeable that people were looking for, and so it's kind of cool nod.
All right, so we're now going to create the final scene in The Last Jedi, and this scene has been teased in trailers throughout the entire marketing. We see the massive AT-M6 walkers for the First Order, the new version of the classic AT-ATs for the First Order, the new Empire. But don't forget about the classic AT-ATs because they actually showed up in this movie. If you look close enough, if you're not focusing on the hugeness of these walkers, in between each of them, there are actually the original AT-AT walkers, which is not even just a cool nod, but it shows that these new walkers, they take so much to build that the First Order can only make so many of them. Kind of like the bombers to the Resistance, that they had to make smaller walkers just to add that much more firepower.
Yeah, I had the privilege of riding the Star Wars ride, Hyperspace Mountain, and they have a part where they fly over the new AT-M6 walkers, and you see the size difference of how teeny those AT-ATs are in comparison to these huge, massive new walkers we got going on.
Yeah, they're about the size of just the legs, and the bodies of these things are massive. So if you go and see this movie again, just look closely, because it's a very quick shot. And the shot from the trailer, I believe, they actually erased them from the trailer just to kind of let people see that in the film, which is a really cool thing. So staying on Crate and getting to one of the most pivotal points in this movie, this is when Luke returns from Ahch-To to Crate to fight the First Order, to take on Kylo Ren. First, we get him coming up to Leia, getting their, you know, they reunite finally after so long. But after learning the climax of the movie, we realize that Luke actually isn't there. He is a Force, not a Force ghost, but he is projecting himself through the Force across the universe. And this is actually tipped not just once, not twice, but like 4 or 5 or 6 times in the movie as to him not being there. First, it starts with him having a shorter haircut, a dyed beard compared to what he had to earlier in the movie. And then, obviously, as we see him on Crate, we see he has his blue lightsaber. And if you think back to just previous scenes, you would know that Rey and Kylo Ren just ripped apart that lightsaber using the Force. So now it's like, wait a second, how does he have that lightsaber? But because we're in the moment, we're recognizing that Luke is there, we don't think about it. The major tip in this point, though, is there's 2 shots in the scene. One, Kylo Ren moves his feet as he's attacking Luke, and the salt moves, showing the red layer beneath the white layer. When it goes to Luke moving, nothing is moved, you know, tipping us that Luke actually isn't there. He's force projecting himself, or what you originally thought is he was actually a ghost all along. So it's a cool little. It's cool because Rian Johnson put it all out there as a risk, and none of us recognized it because we were in the moment. But going back, we're like, wow, how dumb are we not to recognize that?
Yeah, it's something that you... the second time you're like, well, how did I not see that? And he even looks a little bit younger.
Oh, yeah, he's so young. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where you're just like, how did we not figure that one out?
All right, our final thing you may have missed in The Last Jedi. This is one of the things that may have the biggest implications going forward in Episode 9. But Rey took the Jedi Texts from Ahch-To. It is confirmed by one of the final scenes when Finn is opening up a door on the Millennium Falcon. We see the text sitting in that drawer. We thought they were burned on Ahch-To as Yoda brought down some lightning and burned the epic Force tree on Ahch-To. But Rey took them. She didn't steal them. She took them for an advantage. It's interesting because, one, we know that the Jedi, there's something new coming for the Jedi. Because not only do we just know that because of what's going on, but Yoda said so. He said that things just don't work anymore.
Yeah.
2, is Rey going to use these to her advantage going forward? Because we know that she is the sole good Force user in the universe right now. Is she just going to learn from those, or is she going to kind of teach others along the way based on those texts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. That's the history of the Jedi. Now, whether or not they stay the Jedi, we don't know. But she has that knowledge from however long they've been around, which could lead to a big new change.
Alright guys, those are our 10 things you may have missed in Star Wars The Last Jedi. Go back, watch it a second, third, fourth, 10th time, and make sure you check these things out because they add that much more to the movie. If you haven't played Battlefront, if you haven't, you don't know who Revan is or read the visual dictionary, know that after this video you have a little bit more definition to this movie, knowing what is going on, how many Easter eggs there are in this movie. And for what we know, we could have missed a bunch more in this movie.
Yep.
But those are the 10 that kind of stand out to us. Go check them out. Thank you for joining us today. This is Brian. I am Jake. Join us next time. And until then, may the Force be with you.